Lowe's knows that saving is always top of mind, especially this season. That's why we've picked some great deals for early Black Friday. Get free select DeWalt, Cobalt, or Craftsman tools when you buy a select battery or combo kit. More tools? Why not? Plus, we've got select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees starting at $59.98 because it's never too early to think Christmas. Get Black Friday prices without the crowds. Lowe's, we help, you save. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
Are you ready to get spicy?
These Doritos Golden Sriracha aren't that spicy.
Maybe it's time to turn up the heat.
Or turn it down. It's time for something that's not too spicy. Try Doritos Golden Sriracha.
Spicy.
But not too spicy.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
This hour is sponsored by Better Picks, the daily fantasy sports app where your sports knowledge turns into real cash fast. Download Better or visit better.app now. Sign up today, get free money and no deposit necessary. BETR, better.app. Go now.
Let's begin the hour talking about an absolutely massive game in the NFC coming up on Sunday afternoon, and it's the Rams hosting the Seahawks. Los Angeles, a 3-point favorite. A couple of books have 3.5 in this spot here. Total is 48.5 as we head out to the Progressive guest line. Rob Stanton joins the program now, does a great job covering the Seahawks. The website it's SeahawksDraftBlog.com, on X at Rob Stanton, like I mentioned. Rob, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Really good, thanks, guys. Yeah, looking forward to this huge game on Sunday. Can't wait.
Yeah, same here. So before we get into that game, as the NFL plays more and more games over in London, how much more popular is this sport today, say, compared to, 10 or 15 years ago?
Wow. Well, it's huge compared to where it was. So I used to live in Vancouver in Canada, and I moved back to the UK in 2006. And there was probably like a really small, hardcore following of NFL fans over in the UK. Now, every time I leave the house, I will come across somebody who's wearing a hoodie or a cap or something or a hat to do with one of the NFL franchises. And the London games have just transformed the interest of the sport over here. I would say that it's not close to sort of the soccer and stuff like that because that's the national sport, but it's not too far behind to the point that the major sports broadcasters now, I work for the BBC, on a Sunday, you will find in prominent place on their main page online, and we cover it on the radio as well, the NFL is front and center. So it's just exploded in the last 15 years.
All right. Well, both these teams, that's great to hear. Both these teams are elite at almost every single stat that you can find. Maybe there's a weakness here or there. I will point out the Rams special teams and probably the Seahawks running attack overall. And it's a high total here in our racket of 49 here in this game, Rob. Do you see this game being a lower scoring game, or is it going to turn into a shootout, you think, on Sunday?
I think the one game that I'm focusing on to try and project what will happen this weekend is the one game when the two teams played each other when the Rams actually played their starters last season. So they played in sort of the middle of the season, and then they played in the final game when the Rams were already in the playoffs. They'd already won the NFC West, so they rested everybody. And in that first game, it was close. It was low scoring. It went to overtime. The Rams won it in overtime in the end, but it was a very tight back and forth game. The Seahawks had their opportunities, and perhaps surprisingly, and given that Matt Stafford's having a great season and looks fantastic, the Seahawks defense did a very good job keeping him quiet. And I suspect the Rams defensive line will do the same to Seattle. So I'm not sure that it's going to be a huge score of this one, but I think it's going to be really close and probably decided by maybe a field goal in the end.
Do you have an answer or a McDonald of why they are so good on the road in this ridiculous 11-1 run?
No, not really, because at home they've been really poor.
Yes.
For the last sort of 4 to 5 years, the Seahawks have not been a good home team. And then for whatever reason, and it was with Pete Carroll in the back end of his tenure as well, they would go on the road and they would win. I just wonder a little bit whether the team is good enough to win, any game, any time. But maybe opponents saw going to Lumen Field as a bit of a challenge, because historically it's been a really difficult place to go. It's a long trip for a lot of teams. And maybe they just up the game a little bit for when they play in Seattle. And maybe what we're seeing on the road is just the Seahawks are a talented team, but they're showing that, especially this year. And that when they do not have the pressure of the other team upping their game at Lumen Field, they're able to express themselves a little bit more. I think that's the only thing it can be.
A lot of people are still waiting for like the shoe to drop, right? And a bomb to go off with Sam Darnold in a really bad way, and him to revert back to the form that he was before he was with the Vikings a season ago. That came with Minnesota last year, by the way, last regular season game and then the playoff game. But other than that, he's been really good for 2 full years now. Like, is this going to be the guy we're going to get moving forward? Or are you kind of in that camp of saying, you know what, I still think that it's probably going to be a bad game coming at some point?
Look, he's still throwing the odd pass that you wish he wouldn't. And I think that means that there's going to be the potential for a game where he just has a really poor performance and maybe turns the ball over a little bit too much. And people go, yep, that's the same old Sam Darnold. But what I would say is, look, the guy had 35 touchdowns last year. He won 14 games. He's coming to Seattle. They've currently got the most efficient and the most explosive offense in the NFL statistically. You know, they're ranked amongst the highest for their passing game. And a lot of that is because of the way that Sam Darnold's playing. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be that there's going to be a collapse from Sam Darnold at any point. And I think you're right. There's 2 games last season. He played very poorly against the Detroit Lions. Against the Rams in the playoffs, we have to remember, he was sacked 9 times. He was pressured 27 times on dropbacks in that game alone. And if you actually look at Matt Stafford and Lamar Jackson, they had as many pressures on dropbacks in their 2 playoff games that Sam Darnold had in 1. And the Vikings clearly thought their offensive line was so bad in that game that they went out and signed Ryan Kelly at big money, signed Will Fries at big money, and then they spent a first-round pick on Donovan Jackson. So they felt the offensive line was a big problem there. In Seattle, he's playing behind a good offensive line, which is a big surprise to many Seahawks fans, I can tell you that. But with that extra protection, with Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think for the most part, what we're seeing with Sam Darnold is what we're going to get for the rest of the year. How
are they able to get him open and he delivers every single game and what Kubiak's done? And would you advise a 7-1 bet on him to win to break the record?
Yes.
Wow.
If he stays healthy, I would. Because there's an inevitability about Jackson Smith and Jigba. You know, when you see a player, you know, it doesn't matter what you're going to do, he's going to get his yardage. He's going to get a touchdown. I think the best example of this was against Arizona earlier in the season. And the Arizona Cardinals blanketed their coverage towards Jackson Smith and Jigba. And going into the 4th quarter, he'd done very little in that game. And then when the game was on the line, when the Seahawks needed a drive after they'd nearly threw that one away, who was the guy they were throwing to downfield? It was Jackson Smith and Jigba. And now every single week, doesn't matter what teams do, he's getting 90 yards, 100 yards, 120 yards, maybe getting a touchdown. I think he is going to break that record provided that he stays healthy.
Yeah, I'm kind of in your camp. And we talked to a reporter who covers the team, lives in Seattle last week. And for what it's worth, he's like, oh, they're absolutely talking about it. Like, this is the thing in the locker room.
Yeah, I genuinely think there's just an inevitability about him right now. He has become... You know, you think about if you gave the Justin Jefferson, you know, an elite quarterback, you just know that he'd get his yardage. It's the same with many receivers over the years. You know, when Jared Goff is at his best, you know that Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get you 80, 90, 100 yards. Jackson Smith-Njigba's in there now. He's getting open at an unbelievable rate, and he doesn't do it with just blazing speed. He doesn't do it with size and strength. He's just such a naturally gifted receiver, and he's intelligent, he's savvy, he's very reliable, consistent, doesn't drop passes, makes spectacular grabs. He can get downfield. He can run after the catch. He's pretty much the complete player this year.
Rob, we introed you as someone who runs the site SeahawksDraftBlog.com, and you've come on this show and this network before the draft in previous years. And when you're watching them play like last week defensively now, I'm asking it, and Mike McDonald obviously is a defensive coach, they got dudes popping at every single level, right? Now, they've had a couple of good signings in free agency, but as someone who covers this team really closely with the draft, it feels to me like they've hit a home run with almost all their picks in recent years, yeah?
Yeah, they have. They've got great depth. You know, you look at some of these teams, and it's quite easy to look at the Packers and go, well, Micah Parsons, like, difference maker, fantastic. But maybe they've got a few holes in that secondary. Like, you could look at maybe other teams like the Detroit Lions. You know, they've got a really good edge rusher, but are there maybe some injuries that are hampering them in the secondary? You know, look at the Eagles' defense. Jalen Carter's really impactful. Defensive line can be impactful, but, you know, have they got some flaws elsewhere? I think that's the thing with the Seahawks. They're pretty much don't have any major glaring weaknesses now that certain players have come back. They've got some others to come back as well, like Julian Love, the safety. This is going to be a matchup, I think. This is the thing that interests me the most about this game. It's going to be Mike Macdonald in this defense against Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. Because look, last season, when the two teams had their starters, like I mentioned, that first meeting, the Rams only ran for 68 yards in the game, 2.8 yards a carry. Matt Stafford only had 215 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I think a lot of the focus is going to be, wow, Sam Darnold's playing the Rams again. How's he going to get on? I'm interested to see if Stafford and McVay can play a little better than they did in that first meeting last season. Now, the evidence that we're seeing so far this year is that, yes, they are, because Matt Stafford's the MVP leader, maybe alongside Jonathan Taylor. But it's going to be interesting to see how does McVay and Stafford deal with this McDonald defense, because it's playing ever so well this year.
Yeah, that's a great angle. So other than JSN probably getting his yards again this week, is there a player on the Seahawks that we should all be on the lookout for in this game?
Well, I always think you need to keep an eye on Leonard Williams. Like, Leonard Williams is disruptive. There's always a chance that he's going to get a sack. He is, for me, playing as well as any interior defensive lineman in the NFL this season. I don't know why he's not getting more attention as a potential defensive player of the year. Maybe it's just because the numbers aren't quite as some others are. But if you watch the Seahawks every week like I do, you know, it's a pleasure to watch him play. Like, he is dominant every single week. And there aren't many teams that have a player like this who are just getting it done week after week. And when you put Byron Murphy alongside him as well, you know, it's a great combo. So any opportunity I'm going to get to highlight Leonard Williams, I'm going to do it, because I think he's being slept on in terms of his impact this season.
Oh, very good.
Only 90 seconds. Can you put into perspective for our audience what it is like to cover Sheffield Wednesday?
Oh, my word. In 90 seconds. I'd need 90 days. I mean, like, Sheffield, it's been ridiculous covering Sheffield Wednesday this season. The good news is, and it's ridiculous that they've nearly gone under. The club has nearly gone out of business, and the fans are celebrating because they will have a new owner. Now, it's potentially going to be American owners down the line. We'll wait and see what happens there. We'll know by early December, you know, who is going to buy this football club. But that has been chaotic, sleepless nights. I've never worked as hard as I have over the last sort of 3 or 4 months covering a story, but thankfully it looks as if it is coming to an end. And maybe it's going to take a long road back, but maybe one day they can finally get back to the Premier League, because it's been 25 years.
Oh, man, that was awesome stuff. You can follow Rob on X. He's at Rob Statton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. He's also the host, NFL host on BBC, and the BBC Game of the Week on Sunday is the Rams and the Seahawks. Rob, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate that.
Anytime, guys. My pleasure.
There you go. And he was on the Progressive Guest Line. Sounds to me like he also would look at the 3.5, expecting a close game between these two teams. Up next, we'll dive into teams and players who should be able to exploit really bad defenses this week. A player who hasn't recorded a single rushing stat in 3 straight games has a plus matchup on Sunday. So what gives?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Thanks for checking in today. We're live in Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino is the spot. Coming up in 15 minutes, Jimmy Yott's going to join the program, ESPN Baton Rouge. We'll talk some of the big SEC games with him at that time. Ask him who's going to be the next head coach of LSU. Paulie, I know that one of the first player props that you bet for this week, it's Sunday. It's the game over in Madrid. It's Washington and Miami. You're expecting this hot streak from Jalen Waddle to continue.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he's been great. 4 of the last 5, he's had 80 yards or more, and that's where he's lined here against Washington. And he's been so good since the Hill injury and how bad this Washington defense has been, which we've talked about a little bit. But 4 straight losses by 21 points or more. If it happens again, they would. The last team, the record is the 65 Steelers. Think about that. If they're able to get blasted again. But Quinn taking over. They have allowed most yards and points the last 4 weeks. This is nuts how bad this has been.
Does Quinn taking over here as the DC do anything for you like Dan Campbell taking over play calling for Detroit?
No.
Okay.
There's too many guys are out, too. Lattimore's out. Payne's suspended. There's another key injury. I just think they'll be... And they take shots to him deep, as they should.
Yep.
So he's just too good. And with the Waller injury as well, this is pretty much all Tua has, other than dump-offs to Achane.
So here's how bad it's been for the Commanders now in recent games. They have allowed, on the year, the 5th most catches to wide receivers, the most yards, and 13 touchdowns to the position as well. I'll expand on Waddle's recent games, Paulie. If you go back, first full game without Tyreek Hill, 6 for $110. After that, 6 for 95. He had a game in there for 1 for 15. That was it. That's the only bad game. Since then, 5 for 99, touchdown. 6 for 82, 5 for 84, touchdown. Recent wide receivers against Washington. Jamison Williams last week, 6 for 119, touchdown. JSN, 8 for 129. Rashee Rice, 9 for 93, touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 5 for 110, touchdown. Then they had a couple of good games. If you go back early in the season, Drake London killed them, 8 for $110, touchdown. Trey Tucker, Raiders, 8 for 145, 3 touchdowns. Waddle is clearly the primary guy here for Tua. And I'm with you. I think it has to continue, basically.
Yeah, I'm banking on it.
Because he's going to get the targets.
Mm-hmm. No
and
doubt.
that probably means, based on how bad Washington has been, then the end results are going to come with it. All right, so the Bengals defense, there's a lot to look at in this game. The Bengals and the Steelers. Jalen Waddle, think about this for a second. Running back for the Steelers, his rushing and receiving yards prop combo was 103.5. Cincinnati has allowed 1,270 yards on the ground to running backs, the most, 9 touchdowns. Also, they've allowed 46 catches for 399 yards and 4 touchdowns in the air to running backs. All those numbers at or near the very bottom of the entire league. Against tight ends, the Bengals have allowed the 6th most catches, the 2nd most yards, and 12 touchdowns overall. That is 5 more than the next team. And don't forget, when they played in that Thursday night shootout a couple of weeks back, Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, and Washington all scored in that game. But on top of that, you have to look at the Bengals receivers against Pittsburgh. The Steelers defense has allowed the most receptions to wide receivers, 143, and they've only played 9 games. 1,747 yards in the air, 2nd most. That's behind Washington. Washington has played 1 more game. In the first meeting, Flacco, 342, 3 touchdowns. Chase had 23 targets.
Yeah, it was incredible.
16 catches, $161 and a touchdown. Yeah. Higgins, 6 for 96 and 1 touchdown. Every team has basically been able to game plan and attack Pittsburgh in the air. And it appears as if Flacco's going to be good to go in this game.
Yeah, it could be magical again. This is the worst pass defense in the league, and I'm talking about Pittsburgh. And then you're going against this. And if you wonder about just how bad Cincinnati's defense is, look at Justin Fields' stats. And the one outlier this game, when they won 39-38. So you can have all these team meetings. You can talk, Hendrickson's out. You can talk about how you're going to fix it. And it's just been a debacle. You even had Brown and Chase, specifically Brown, call out the defense as well. But nothing's worked. They're so bad. And I think it's going to be a tight end fest again. As I mentioned earlier, Fant's gone over every game, and every Cincinnati start from Flacco has gone over as well. And that's why it's hard to get there with Boswell-related props, too.
Right.
Where you just think it's, tough beat last night. What do we have, 7-8 trips in the red zone? But they all were touchdowns except for 1, I believe. So.
Right. So we both like Wan'Dale Robinson in this game for the Giants. Let me ask, which player or players will eat for Green Bay against this Giants defense?
Oh, it's got to be a Jacobs game. You can't. The Giants defense is so bad against the run.
2nd most rushing yards allowed to opposing running backs the entire year.
Got to be a big game for him.
You know what I was looking at doing, Paulie, to piggyback him? I was going to play 100-plus yards at plus money because his prop is 70. He hasn't had 100 yards this year.
Yeah, it's also on LaFleur, too. Some of the bad play calling, and also they don't have a lot of possessions because they play so slow.
Yep.
But it's I would like to see him get Golden and some of the younger guys involved early.
I don't think Golden's going to play.
I thought he was trending that way.
I think right before the show started, it came down that he was questionable in the game.
Okay, I thought he was going to be in there.
Because that's the next group to look at.
Yeah, I did play Watson over 40 to get 40 yards, too, just because they take deep shots to him. And but there's just too much talent on this offense to look like this and score, what they're averaging 13 points the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, because it should be, the Packers should be able to say, okay, this is a bounce-back spot because you can't slow down running backs. And also they've allowed the 3rd most catches to wide receivers on the season and the 3rd most yards. Somebody's going to have to get the job done here. I would like to think it's going to be Watson, but I will point out at practice this week, Watson, Wicks, Savion Williams, Golden, all limited. Romeo Doubs was a full participant. Is Dobbs going to be the guy by default here? If he's the healthiest of the entire bunch?
Did nothing Monday night.
Well, but I mean, he's going to throw the ball to somebody.
That's what I don't know if you would think, but it's the Green Bay Packers. It doesn't make any sense what's going on here.
I know.
Can't move the ball against Carolina. One catch in the Monday night game. You're putting a kicker out there who's compromised. It doesn't make any sense what I've watched the last month.
Now, let me throw this at you. In the Buccaneers-Bills game, the Bills have allowed more than 1,000 yards to backs on the year, the fifth most in the league, and 12 touchdowns, tied for the most. Sean Tucker for the Buccaneers ran 9 times for 53 yards last week against New England. He is the first back this entire year to eclipse 50 yards against the Patriots defense. I like Sean Tucker over 37.5. There's also this. Remember, we talked about this to begin the year. Baker Mayfield was on this awesome stretch of longest rush over, specifically on the road. Buffalo has allowed the 8th most yards to opposing quarterbacks on the ground, on the 5th fewest carries. Now, most of those yards came in 3 games, but here is the rub. Did you know that Baker Mayfield has not recorded a single carry or rushing stat in 3 consecutive games for Tampa Bay?
Bah.
That blew me away when I was looking at that this week.
What happened?
I don't know. It was always something that we would go to war with.
It's a white whale. It's incredible. It was 11 in a row in road games.
That's right.
They get the long one.
Yeah.
You know, run a guy over, flex, whatever. And what he was doing.
There's got to be something. I'll do some more digging. We're on the air on Sunday morning with the tailgate show. I'll do some more digging on that to see if there's any explanation as to why he's not running whatsoever. You mentioned field goal props. I'm intrigued by the game out here Monday night because you can bet longest field goal of the game. It's Aubrey and the Cowboys against Carlson and the Raiders. It's a $1.10 longest field goal.
Going to take that. Can't have a lot of confidence. That's in my article at vsin.com. Can't have a lot of confidence in Carlson as he's missed an extra point in that 48-yarder in the last couple of weeks, and they got rid of the special teams coordinator as well. From that standpoint, had a winner last week. Same thing coming right back. Tennessee, longest made field goal in that game against the Texans. Sly's got a big leg, and I could see them against this awesome Houston defense that only allows 16 points per game, that they have a couple drives, but they have to settle, and I don't think Ryan's going to have a lot of confidence in Matthew Wright again. So I think Tennessee longest made field goal in that game.
Let me give you a couple of concerns that I have for the Monday night game because, again, now Allegiant Stadium out here in Las Vegas, that is the home of the longest field goal ever made 2 weeks ago against Jacksonville when Little hit it from 68. Can we see history again with Aubrey maybe? I'm concerned that we're not going to get a lot of field goal attempts in this game.
Right. That's right. Yep, that's like Cincinnati-Pittsburgh.
Right. So as much as I want to sit here and tell you that I have to bet Aubrey over because he's minus 110, it's a 3-way market, right? It's a tie, and then both guys are minus 110 for the longest field goal in the game. Will the Raiders get enough stops?
I will look at touchdown field goal, both halves each team. That seems doable, and we almost got that in the first Cincinnati-Pittsburgh meeting. And that's like 14-1 in that range.
Okay, usually, I like that angle.
Look at that. And the Jacksonville game. Oh, come on. Jacksonville and the Chargers, both teams to make a 33-yard field goal? Come on. Think you know sports, get paid for it, Better Picks, the daily fantasy app where your sports knowledge turns into real cash fast. Download the Better app, pick more or less on your player stats. If your pick hits, you win. New users get free money just for signing up and no deposit required. When you deposit, you get a 50% deposit match up to $200. Head to better.app, BETR, download it in the Apple Google Play Store and get your free money. Better.app, BETR.
Jimmy Yacht next, ESPN Baton Rouge. College football, who does he like in the huge games in the SEC this weekend? And who is the next coach of LSU?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
What a big weekend in the SEC. Games to be played tomorrow pretty much across the board. We'll talk about that. And also the next coach of LSU is Jimmy Ott, joins the program now, ESPN Baton Rouge, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Jimmy, good afternoon. Good to talk to you, pal. How are you?
Absolutely. Great to hear from you guys. Yes, indeed. How are you doing?
Doing well. You're the perfect guy to ask this because an offshore book opened up Nick Saban at around 70 or 75-1 to become the next head coach at LSU. Immediately, it dropped to 2-1. Is there anything to that in your opinion?
Well, I mean, you have to start with Nick. And Nick still has some close friends in Baton Rouge. And you have to make that call. And they have made that call. They have had conversations with him. But he is out. Okay? So they have, just like when Wayne Huizenga was in town, okay, you're going to Miami. Who do you like? And actually, of all people, he said, I don't know about everybody, but man, Arkansas usually plays us really, really tough. I respect the job that Houston Nutt's done at Fayetteville for whatever, little historical reference there. But Saban is out as of now, but they are leaning him for direction. And he is recommended of one of his former assistants. He's got a lot of them out there, and it's the hottest name right now. And it's there's a reason that Lane Kiffin has not signed his contract. That was on his table 2 days after James Franklin was launched. Cignetti, they extended him in Bloomington. He has not signed it in Oxford. I'm not sure if he's going to go to Baton Rouge or Florida. Of course, his ex-wife, Layla, is a Florida alum. John Reeves, a quarterback for Florida and the Tampa Bay Bandits. That's her dad. And, she was born in the state of Florida, and he likes Florida, so he could go there. And then I'm hearing that Ole Miss, if he makes it a playoff, which they're going to make it, they're not going to allow him to coach a team if he takes another job. So if you're asking me where he's going to be between Oxford, Florida, or Baton Rouge, I think it's not going to be Oxford, but I'm not sure where it might be. But I do not think he's going to stay in Oxford. I could be wrong. One thing, I'll bet on this. He's going to be the highest paid coach in about a month in college football. With Jimmy Sexton, he is going to cash in. And as usual, it's just more exaggerated this year with the high profile openings. But Jimmy Sexton's in the catbird seat right now.
Yeah. Well, how about how this is played out, though, where the governor gets involved and he says that this AD will not make the hire? These bad contracts follow him around, and then he's let go as well. So how about how this has been handled?
It's damaged the hire. It's damaged, the hiring process. And if it doesn't eliminate some guys, it is going to drive the price up a little bit more. There's no doubt. But still, here's the list. It's 2. It's 3 straight coaches national championships. It's Miami and it's LSU. That's the list. And that's where Brian Kelly took the job. He said, man, Les Miles and Ed Orgeron can win national championships. I can too. But he was not involved and didn't embrace the recruiting aspect of the job. He thought the players called him to show up. I mean, these were some of the weaker rosters that we've seen. This year's roster was good, minus the offensive line. It just has brought the whole thing down. But I was shocked when they made the move on early. I thought Brian Kelly was still going to be the coach, for 2026, and I was wrong.
What about this Saturday? It's an early morning game, 12:45 a.m. Eastern Time, SEC Network. They're at home against Arkansas. Hogs are 2-7. LSU laying about 4.5. Total is 57.5. Do you have a play on this game, Jimmy?
Somebody's going to win when LSU has the ball. They have been so bad on offense, but Arkansas of the 16-team conference is by far the worst defense in the conference, and it's not close. The second worst. So somebody's got to win there. But I know this, Frank Wilson, who I've known since middle school, I mean, he's going to have them playing hard. But the offensive line and the protection issues are still the same. Taylor Green is outstanding. Bobby Petrino, first ballot Hall of Fame scumbag, but also a really great play designer. And I mean, he's put Taylor Green in some favorable positions. So I'm not betting it with your money. I mean, no pizza money, no nothing. I'm not betting that game. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I'll abstain from that one.
You think Texas is good? What do you think of Georgia? 6.5 at home.
But you tell me. I mean, are they? This is a team that should have lost to Mississippi State. It's a team that got out first down 26-8 in Lexington. And then they build a 34-6 lead against Vanderbilt. But then Vandy's got their hands on the ball with less than a minute to go on an onside kick. So I'm not sure about Texas. I do think that Georgia is a fade team for me. They're just not what they've been the last few years. This is the second worst yards per play defense since Kirby's been there. The worst was his first year. They don't have those killers like they're playing for the Eagles right now. Auburn, they were lucky. Ole Miss, 5 straight possessions, touchdowns, long sustained drives. That's not Kirby Smart. That's not Georgia. That's not Vince Dooley. That's never. Georgia's one of my biggest fade teams right now. But Texas on the road has not been impressive as well. So if anything, I mean, I'd probably have to take Georgia and lay the points.
Okay. And how about Bama? Same number at home to Oklahoma.
This line is begging people to take Alabama.
That's right.
Alabama's number 4 in the country. I was there in Tuscaloosa last weekend. They've gotten every break. And LSU is not good at this point. And LSU had their chances. It's a one-possession game in the middle of the fourth quarter. For this thing to be under a touchdown, it looks like it's inviting, Alabama action. Being Vanderbilt, I mean, turns the ball over 2 times in the red zone, or they're right to beat Alabama. I mean, the South Carolina game, they had no business winning that game. So they're winning leading a charm life right now. So I kind of like Oklahoma in the point that Venables is very, very good against one-dimensional teams. Alabama, the 136 Division I teams, is like 110, yards per attempt rush. So Ty Simpson even gives me more appreciation for what he's done. Now, he's got some weapons now, but Ty Simpson's been really, really good this year. But that line stinks to all heaven. Tells me Oklahoma's the side plus the points.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Jimmy Ott, ESPN Baton Rouge. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. All right. So you mentioned Lane up for these gigs, one of them being Florida. Well, they played this week. Ole Miss, big favorite, now down to 11.5 actually against Florida here. Does he want to be on showcase here for the Gators and put together like the best game of the entire year? Have you bet this game yet, Jimmy?
No, I have not. But how about the line movement?
I know.
You go get one thing that Sunbelt Billy did. Man, he kept that locker room together, and they played hard when it was a rough season. And they fired him before the bye week, before they played Georgia. Big rivalry game, and Florida brought it again. Up 3 inside the 24th and 1 in the fourth quarter. I mean, they're about to make it a 2-possession game. We know how that thing ended. So it's just, I mean, I just wonder, though, you go to Kentucky and get housed like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm sure that they're going to get housed at Ole Miss. So they bet the line up. But, man, this massive movement down low now, is Florida have a last stand in them? And how much are the distractions that Lane Kiffin's the hottest coach for the other jobs, how much of a distraction is that placed on him? So it's a tough spot. But down at 11.5, man, I'm taking Ole Miss. Keep in mind, the one thing we do know, that cost him a trip to the playoff last year. So, and that loss to Gainesville. So Lane will have his team ready. I'm going to lay the points with Ole Miss at home.
Great call about last year. If you had to bet on the number of teams to make the playoff from the SEC, that number of teams would be what?
17. I don't know. It's 5, maybe 4 or 5.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It depends on. There's so many critical games just left. I mean, Texas could be there. Vanderbilt could be there. I mean, and guys, let me tell you, I thought this new transfer portal or NIL era, it would just extend, widen the haves and have-nots. It's done exactly the opposite. I've never seen a ceiling so low for the SEC. There's no super team. A&M's got a chance. They have a chance. Marcel Reed can be a little bit inconsistent, but when he's on, they're as good as anybody. But the other teams are not. Alabama's not that good. Georgia's not that good. Yeah. Ole Miss, that team was way better last year. Better last year. And LSU is not great. But the bottom, I mean, Kentucky and Mississippi State are playing teams in the upper echelon of the SEC. So it is like the Big 12 on steroids all of a sudden with the SEC this year. But it's 4, maybe 5. You know that, Mitch. There's a lot of games to be played. So does Duke win the ACC championship and so forth?
You're basically speaking our language here. We've said this many times this week and going back last couple of weeks, super conferences stink. I wish they would get rid of them. I can't stand them, Jimmy.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, look, SMU got to the ACC championship game, dodging Clemson, Clemson and Miami. They didn't have to play Notre Dame or their 6 ACC games, and they got beaten in the ACC championship game in the tournament as well. So this is what you have when you have these ridiculously large conferences where you can get through a schedule and get to the conference championship game and maybe win it. So just part of where we are. But I'm telling you, the ceiling is really low for these SEC teams. I don't see these super dominant Georgia, Alabama, LSU type of teams this year.
No, you're spot on. You can follow Jimmy on X. He's at Jimmy Ott 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jimmy, that was awesome. Thanks for the time. Best of luck this weekend.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, guys.
I will remind you that it did not go well for this offense the first time they played. Now we get the rematch on Sunday.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
More games now. National Football League coming up this weekend. Week number 11. Some of the games we haven't touched on so far today. Baltimore is playing at Cleveland. This is a rematch of a Week 2 game in which, okay, the box score, the final scores, it's like, wow, they really pounded the Browns in that spot. It was 41-17 final score. Lamar Jackson threw for 225 yards, had 4 touchdowns, Paulie. He only ran for 13 yards, only ran twice. Derrick Henry did nothing. He had 11 carries, 23 yards. In fact, in the game overall, the Browns outgained Baltimore by 80 yards. And now they have to play again coming up. And this game is going to be in Cleveland, where the Browns defense again this year lights out at home, where they have allowed 11 points per game on the season and 3.5 yards per play. Here at Circa, Baltimore 7.5, total is 39. Can the Browns be in this game, like a one-score game late with a chance to win it?
Baltimore would have to turn it over. I don't think Cleveland's going to do much offensively. And that's what scares me. Can they get to 7, more than 17 points? I don't know. This Baltimore defense has been so good since they got everyone back in the last 4 weeks as well. They did give up that late touchdown to Minnesota, which made it a little bit misleading. But in terms of what they did to Minnesota, Minnesota fumbled back-to-back kickoffs, too, to help them out. So Lamar wasn't himself. Henry looked good at times, but Lamar has got to get going and knock the rust off. It feels like a 10-point win.
Let me point this out.
10-13.
Yeah, so the total's 39.
Yeah, it seems high, too.
We're looking at 60+%. The precip, that's on Saturday. It does go down on Sunday to about 35% for a chance of precipitation. However, Paulie, like 50 degrees is a high in Cleveland that day. So if you get a little, that cool weather mixed in with maybe some sloppy field conditions here, then you would expect it to even help out that Browns defense even more. And again, 39. I mean, at the end of the day, if the Browns don't turn the ball over here, I think we could look at like a 13-10 kind of game.
Oh, wow. Come on. They still have weapons, though. I mean, at least saw the tight ends last week. Flowers is yet to go off. He's got so many guys he can throw to.
Oh, again, they had 240 yards of offense the first game. That was it. I'm looking more at like alt-unders in this game than anything else. Because I'm with you. Baltimore's defense is playing great football at the moment.
Yeah.
And I just think there's an angle here where that bad boy, not much is going to be happening in terms of end zone trips.
This is where they got to lock in, though. When you get this win, you're back to 500. It'd be 4 in a row. You get the gift with the Jets at home, and then you get ready for Thanksgiving in that stretch where it's Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. And now you could even pull even in the division as well.
Did you bet any Baltimore futures?
Oh, yeah. I have no playoffs at 3-1, and I came back and took some division. But that number keeps going up, too, now. But I do have no division and tried to get some of it back as now it's it appears here come the wins. They could be 10-5 going into that New England game. And suddenly those don't look that difficult now. New England at home is going to be tough. But at Green Bay and at Pittsburgh, they could win out.
So
that's certainly possible with how the schedule's lined up for them.
Right. If you fast forward to the playoffs, and we assume that this team makes it in, not the Chiefs, every other team but the Chiefs, and Baltimore has to go on the road to play a bunch of these teams, are you going to like the opposing team at all? Let's just say every game's a pick'em.
I would take Baltimore against all those teams, even though Jackson has burned me several times in January. Also, weird stuff has happened. Silly turnovers, guy fumbles going in the end zone.
Yep.
Andrews can't catch the ball. Andrews fumbles. But I would take them against Denver.
Yep.
I would take them against Buffalo.
Yep.
I would take them against Indianapolis. I mean,
I'm pretty sure I'd take them against New England.
Yeah, I would take them against New England. They just have so much damn talent. and they're so good offensively.
I take them against the Chargers. I think the one team I would not take.
I would take them. Oh, absolutely take them against the Chargers.
Yeah, right. The one team would be KC. Like if they had to go to KC AFC title game, I'm like, man, not sure this is going to go well for them.
And I think you were sick. I can't recall, but that's the case David Baker made. And he just said, I'm loading up on Ravens futures when they were 1-5. That this number's out of whack because if they make the playoffs, and I think they're going to, look at the schedule. That's the discussion that he's having with people about if they're alive in January. I would take them against all these teams, and suddenly I got a 25 and a 15-1 ticket in my pocket.
Well, 15-1 AFC, if that was available, that's a nice one to have right now. Because what's the best that is it like plus 650 right now to win the AFC? Something like that. And by the way, come January, the beginning of the playoffs, plus 650 might actually look like a pretty good number based on who their path might be. Yeah, I'd like them against the Colts. I think the game against New England is going to tell us a lot about both these teams when they play in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. That's, right.
Patriots are a great story. Now we're talking about, again, if they're as healthy as possible at the time, we're talking about the best team that New England's going to have to play.
You agree luck runs out for the Bears? Caleb is 1-7 against the North in his short career. And you look at the nice winning streak, but the opponents are, 15-31-1 with their record? And the Vikings got him the first time. And we'll see here with this. You got good news on Johnson, but can the Bears get stops against Minnesota? I laid it with the Vikings. Big total, too. That was kind of wonky with the landing spot last week, but every Viking game's gone over but 2.
I would say for one full regular season, sometimes a horseshoe can be up the rear end of a team the entire time.
Yeah.
And maybe that could be the Bears here. I did take a flyer on Ben Johnson around 35-1 for Coach of the Year. It's going to be very difficult to overcome. Vrabel did it again last night, Steichen as well. But I look at this team, and again, I pointed this out. I mean, you put a game on from this year and put it side by side to any game they played last year, and you're going to think it's a completely different organization. So Johnson deserves a ton of the credit here. Their schedule is an absolute meat grinder moving forward.
Yes, it is.
I would like to say that I'm in the same camp with you because I was so high in Minnesota to begin the year. They have just flopped for me.
I have under 8.5 and no playoffs, and I'm in trouble here. But again, you beat the Cowboys, Raiders, should have lost. Washington, ton of turnovers. Saints, ton of turnovers. Went to Baltimore against Huntley, lost by 14. Bengals, 47-42.
Miracle.
And you got lucky last week against the Giants. They're going to lose. Dart gets hurt and the Dart fumbles.
Sure.
So to your point, coming up now, you can win this game, and then you get Pittsburgh at home and you're favored. But then it's Philly, it's Green Bay again, it's San Francisco, it's the Lions, and you probably get swept by the Packers, and then that could be for the whole kit and caboodle against the Niners on that Sunday night game on the road, Week 17.
Would you rather have the Bears or the Packers in the playoffs?
A future ticket?
No, I'm just talking about, I'm not even betting here for a second, just in terms of...
The Packers are better.
Yeah, the Packers are a better football team.
Higher
yes,
ceiling.
They are.
Good defense, nasty defense, yeah.
I just think the Bears would probably give us a more entertaining game.
Well, no question.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They're appointment viewing what's happening with that game.
Absolutely, they are.
Yeah.
But I tell you, if the Vikings don't win this game, and I get it, they're only a 2.5 or 3 point. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's a throwaway season for them then. You mentioned earlier that you're going to bet the... both kickers to have a 33-yard field goal in this Chargers-Jags game.
Yeah, same thing in the Minnesota game, too.
Okay.
But this is like Sunday night with Pittsburgh and the Chargers. I mean, you have Little and Dicker going at it.
Right.
Both teams to make a 33-yard field. Harbaugh's kicking 55-yarders and passing on 4th and 2. I mean, that was crazy.
Right.
It's old school football here. It's like Tomlin. But plus, Cohen will trust Little from anywhere as well. This is a tough one. But it's the same thing. Chargers are in the playoffs. They win this game. They're going to do it. And as a favorite off a night game, they're 10-1 straight up last 11. Got to win this game. So many injury with Jacksonville. Got to win this game.
I would love to bet the Chargers here.
Don't trust the O-line?
I do not trust the O-line.
Look at the road games. Did not look good at Tennessee. Lost to the Giants. No. There's a bad road performances with this team.
Yeah, and that's been kind of who they have been now for many, many years, I think, before Harbaugh got there. But I think there's an angle where the defensive line for Jacksonville can make Herbert really work for it in this game and put heat on him. And also, I think that if they're patient here, and Liam Cohen is an offensive guy, I think based on the Jags offensive line and how teams have attacked the Chargers up front, Etienne should be in for a big game here for the Jags.
Are you scared off Gadsden props because it's too high?
It's too high. I want to pound him because Jacksonville is so bad against tight ends, but it's 50.5 and he's off the injury.
Miami was the other one. Another road game. Chargers blew it.
You're right.
So I could see a lot of field goals in this game, and Harbaugh goes conservative in the red zone. Think you know sports? Start getting paid for it. Better Picks, a daily fantasy sports app where your sports knowledge turns into cash. Sign up today, get free $10 and no deposit needed. When you do deposit, a 50% deposit match up to $200. Download Better in the app or Google Play Store. Head to better.app, promo code VSiN for your free money and deposit bonus. Download Better now, BETR, better.app.
Eagles-Lions Sunday night. God, what a huge game again coming up in the NFC. We'll discuss how this might look for the Lions offense against a defense in Philly that is turning out to be quite nasty. Next on Follow the Money, it's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.